I'd like to tell you a story about something out of the ordinary that happened to me the other night. And perhaps you can recognize that kind of experience, or it can broaden your view of what is possible. So I was dreaming, and in this dream I was together with some other women in a room, and then all of a sudden some drunk young men came bursting into the room, and some guards were trying to push them out again. But one of these young men was coming really close up to me, and it was like he was going straight towards me, and I wasn't sure what was going on with him. And then all of a sudden I got into eye contact with him, and I was really surprised to see that it was the son of one of my friends. And I've only met him once in real life. I know his mother well, but since he's a teenager, I haven't gotten into his company a lot. He's just minding his own business. So I know his mother very well, but I was like, oh my God, you're the son of this woman. How are you? What's wrong? So I went from being afraid of what are these young guys doing to having compassion for this young man, and I became aware that I needed to help him because he was looking at me with tears in his eyes, and he wasn't saying any words. He was just sort of giving me a telepathic sense that all this party gone crazy vibe that he was in was too much for him, that actually he wasn't happy with it, that it was overwhelming, and he seemed to be a bit lost and gotten away from his balance, out of balance and away from himself. So after checking that he was physically all right in that situation, I started healing him in a way where it felt quite motherly, where I was conveying this kind of motherly love and the feeling of seeing him in his innocence, and really just opening the energy to make him get all the healing that he needed. And I could feel how the energy was starting to move, and then my alarm bell rang. So I woke up, but I kept having the feeling of the energy that was working. So I kept focused and held the field for quite a while that day for that healing to be finished. And then I contacted his mother to ask if he was all right, because I got a little bit worried about him. But luckily she could say, yeah, he's fine. I saw him yesterday. There's no problem. But what's up? And then I told her about the story, and she was really, she got really emotional and felt moved in a positive sense, because 2 weeks earlier she had been realizing that he had some traumas relating to this issue of parties that had gone out of control, himself and others around him having had experiences that were boundary crossing, and there were quite some issues with that he hadn't told her before, and she realized that he needed some kind of help dealing with that, but he wasn't really open to therapy or something. So she was just asking up to see what kind of help can he get. Yeah, so that was such a wonderful confirmation for me, because sometimes you can dream of other people, but it can be really hard to verify if there's anything about it. But here she could verify that he had traumas relating to this theme, and he needed help, and she had been asking for that help without knowing who could help him. And even though he didn't know on a conscious level that his mother had been asking for that help, and even though he wasn't open to these kinds of spiritual encounters, his soul was still able to come and find out who in the extended network around him would be able to help him, and then reach out, his soul reaching out to me in my dream where I'm most open to getting into contact. So his soul finds me when I'm accessible, shows me what he needs, and asks for that help. To me, that's just so wonderful that is possible. It gives me really a respect for the higher intelligence of all people. No matter if you're conscious about your spirituality or not, your soul still has such an intelligence of reaching out to whatever you need. And also the feeling of how helped we are. When his mother was praying that he would find help, then he did that, and he found someone who was willing to help. And I was just so happy to be able to be put in that position where I could do that. So I hope this story can inspire you to think through if you've experienced something like that. And if you do, then you know that you're not crazy. It's possible, and other people have tried that too. And also, I felt that it was made even more possible because I had recently gotten more attuned to that kind of possibility, because I was listening to the Telepathy Tapes. That's a series of podcasts that are so wonderful, and I really, really, really recommend it to you. You can find them on Spotify, the Telepathy Tapes, and it's about autistic non-speaking young people who have learned to spell to communicate, and there they tell about all the magnificent things they can do, such as telepathy. And one of these young guys had been reaching out to his mother and trained her to become lucid in her dreams, and thereby he could give her a lot of music that he wanted to compose and to publish as records, but he couldn't write down the lyrics and the notes, so it was easier for him to tell it to his mother in a lucid dream, and then his mother could write down the songs, and then collaboratively they could go to the studio and make these recordings. So I had been fascinated about that story of this guy reaching out to his mom in her sleep. So I think that had helped pave the way for me to this exact experience. I've had many special dreams where I dream about the energy work that we're doing, and I dream about cooperation with other kinds of entities and all that sort of stuff, but I've just never experienced this exact thing of a person that I know at a great distance who comes and tells me such a specific thing that he needs help with, and then being able to get the confirmation. So now that you have heard me tell about it, you're also aware that this is possible, and then it might be heightening the chance that you'll have experiences like this. I just want to leave a note of caution along with it, and that is that everybody has their own free will, and we cannot just come and say, hey, I met you in a dream and you said this, so therefore this is the truth, if you agree or not. Because we might not be aware of what our soul is doing when we're sleeping. And sometimes we also dream of people where it's not because we meet their soul, but because our subconscious use them as a symbol to represent something in our processing and development of the issues that we are going through. So it's not necessarily a meeting. Sometimes it's symbolic, and it can be various things. So we should never impose our own truth, and we always should be aware of not crossing people's boundaries by just coming and telling them, hey, you have this issue that I've helped you with. we cannot overrule people's own experiences like that. So I also haven't contacted the guy. I've only talked with his mother because I know she's open to it. But she has told me that she's seen positive changes in the relationship between the two of them, and things have moved forward with his issues, she could see. But it would be too much to just contact him and tell him about it, because it's not part of his reality. It probably will be someday, because he has so much potential, but we will leave that up to be shown in the future. So I hope you enjoyed that little story, and I just wish you a wonderful day and lots of magical experiences.